Hey everybody, before we get into today's show, just want to say, hey, if you're checking out the HeroClix for Huntington's auctions that are coming up next week, there's a link to join Auxxit in our bio. Auxxit, is one of our great sponsors of the show, and all of the auctions for HeroClix for Huntington's will be ran through that. So check that out next Saturday, the 6th, May 6th. So, big shout out to Auxxit, and without further ado, let's get into the show.
Welcome to Clixed Off, brought to you by Lucky Dice Cafe out of Huntsville, Alabama. Check them out at luckydicecafe.com. And now for your hosts, Daniel Powell, Jason Alvey, Alex Coons, and Tyler Speeds.
Hey everybody, welcome to Clixed Off today. This is your host Daniel Powell speaking. Just want to let everybody know that Clixed Off is brought to you by TrollandToad.com, the world's largest HeroClix retailer. Find HeroClix new and old on TrollandToad.com and use coupon code CLIXEDOFF for 5% off your HeroClix order. And if you like what you're hearing today, check us out, patreon.com/ClixedOff. $1 and above gets entered into our monthly giveaways. $5 and above gets entered into our Discord server for exclusive HeroClix strategy and tactics discussion. That's patreon.com/ClixedOff. And joining me today is Alex. I sure hope we pull better on Thursday night's Rock Cup than we did last year, Coos.
I don't see how we could pull worse, but hey, worst case scenario, we can just go get drinks or something afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, and then our super special guest today joining us again is Scott, the guy that has made Daniel care about sealed porter.
Woo! I like that, man. Sealed is my favorite way to play. Has been for a long time. So the fact that getting some constructed veterans on board with playing some sealed again, then I've done my job.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to talk about with Scott today. We are we're actually 2 weeks out, right, from the HeroClix from Huntington's event. A little less than 2 weeks, actually. It'll be 2 weeks from today that the singles event is firing off, so we'll already be through quite a bit of HeroClix by now in 2 weeks. So lots of stuff to go over. And so, yeah, Scott, we were talking about, we covered a lot of the prizing and the events that are going on, right? So lots of great prizing. Cash is back. I want to thank McConnell Lamar for picking up the Rick Ross reference last episode. That made me happy. And then, oh man, I forget his name. I was also excited that Rick Ross is my favorite rapper, which he indeed is.
Rick Ross, the boss.
He is. He totally is. Golly, I was gonna find out who said that. It's his name's escaping me at the moment, but yeah, Rick Ross is indeed my favorite rapper. So, that was Paul Watler, actually. So thanks for picking those out, guys. So, so let's see. So Scott, what I want to talk about with you is, can you give us an outline if you show up to the HeroClix for Huntington's event starting in about a week and a half on Thursday, and they want to get a chance to play against Scott Porter? What events do you plan on playing, and kind of your agenda for what you're going to participate in over the weekend?
Yeah, for everybody that comes, opening up on Thursday is going to be the Tracy Brock Memorial Welcome event. I won't be playing in that, but I will be attending, and we will have some online battle royals starting that day as well. And I'm definitely going to hop into one or two of them randomly and play out a battle royal throughout the evening. What you can expect from that night, even if you're not playing, is they've got food and drink specials, they got barbecue sliders, and they got beers and everything in house, and it's really just a great time to meet some new folks if you haven't met everybody in the HeroClix community. Like for me last year, seeing a lot of people's faces and putting them to handles, whether that's HC Realms or elsewhere, was just really cool. So the welcome event isn't just about the tournament itself that's being held that night, although Tracy's memorial tournament is like a lot of fun to watch. It's a crazy amount of fun to play in, but it's also community coming together before we really launch into the weekend. So Thursday I'll be doing some online stuff for people that haven't come down, but I do urge everybody to come on out, because it's a feeling on the tournament weekend that I've never experienced before. And I played at Worlds, I played at comic conventions all over the place, back when WizKids was at DragonCon, or in LA at Comic-Con, or Wizard World. I've played in all these tournaments, and it's just a completely different feeling, I think, when we know we're doing something good as a community, and it's really cool. But then throughout the rest of the weekend, Friday, the Scott Porter vs. the World super duper extreme Avengers 60th pre-release sealed tournament is I'm going to be playing in that. My name's in the title there. I'm going to be wearing bounties on my back. If you can defeat me in a head-to-head matchup, you can win any number of prizes that I'll be carrying with me throughout that tournament. Last year, I think you and I met in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, top 8, right?
Top 8, yeah. And before I eventually lost to Iron Allfather and Mike Holloway in the semifinals. But I'll be playing in that all day long, and if I get knocked out before the cut, I'll be jumping into some in-person battle royals that day. And then we have a big auction that takes place on Friday night, and people can bid on stuff all around the world through the Auxxit app. But being in the room, me and Scott Crampton will be hosting the auction in room, and it's a lot of fun, man. There's a lot of things that'll probably spring up in room. Sign Scott Crampton's head, draw on Scott Crampton's head, slam Scott Crampton with a pie. I mean, a number of things might happen off the cuff in the room that people who are bidding online might not be able to take a part of. But, it's a lot of fun, and we've got the Hall of Fame event. I'll be at all of these events. I'll be there all weekend long. But in that auction, there will be 4 different opportunities to bid on me playing in virtual battle royals. You can pick 2 other people, and then myself, I'll be there. And in those, everybody will be receiving a bystander token of their choice. So you're kind of, that those online battle royals are kind of for bragging rights, and everybody gets a prize. And you can also bid, if you're at the event weekend, on 4 different opportunities to sit down with me at a table and play battle royals in person. So that'll be the extent of me, playing throughout the weekend. Outside of the ones that are in the auction, the battle royals that are in the auction, I'll also be dropping in on Saturday and Sunday randomly into online rooms if they need a person, or in-person battle royals if they need a person. I thought about maybe jumping into the teams this year. There's so many moving parts, and we have so much going on, and I just want to see so much of the community, and those tournaments can take all day and take a lot of focus. So I just want to make sure that I'm there, I'm present all weekend long, and it's worked well in the past, so I can't wait to see everybody this year.
Gotcha. Perfect.
And
then Sunday and then Sunday singles, right?
Yes.
Did we get to? Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Sunday the World Championships. I mean, the singles. I will be there watching. And throughout the day I'll be jumping in, like I said, to the battle royals from the auction, and then doing a couple of random battle royals too, as people start to fall out of the singles if they don't make the cut. We still have awesome prizing for all the battle royal stuff, and just be sitting and hanging out with everybody, man, and not rooting anybody in particular on, but just having a lot of fun seeing what people bring for both the teams on Saturday and the singles on Sunday.
Yeah, for those that aren't able to make it to the weekend, obviously you could play in the online BRs, but we are planning on live streaming the the finale of the auction. So the shenanigans that happened with Scott and Scott. We should be live streaming that, and we should be live streaming hopefully the singles, almost every tournament. Probably not Thursday night, but we're hoping to live stream most of the tournaments over the weekend.
So
that's kind of what I'll be doing.
Yeah. So to be clear, Alex, you're going to be streaming on the Rock channels, I assume. So like the Rock Facebook the Rock Facebook, or like you're on one of the other channels. Where do you plan on putting the live stream?
That's a wonderful question that I will clearly announce when I have that definite. But yeah, it's most likely there will be links to it on the Rock Facebook pages, and it'll be sent out to everyone that's interested. So you will be able to find the live streams for sure.
Right. So, and then to be clear on my end, I will be streaming my games like I did last year. So we don't have last year we had the make the top cut buys. So that's not last year. So I will be playing all day Sunday, unlike last year. And then I actually do plan on streaming Thursday's event as well. That worked great for like 68 minutes last year because we pulled junk. But yeah, I plan on streaming each day again like I did last year. So, and that'll be on the Clixed Off YouTube channel. So,
awesome. And for anybody out there who's listening, if they go to the Rock Discord channel throughout the tournament weekend, that's where I think a lot of the links for these live streams and stuff that Kuz is talking about, as soon as we figure out where they're going to be, you'll be able to find those links on the Rock Discord channel. So if you're not a member there, you can go ahead and sign up. And that's also where we launch a lot of the online battle royals out of. So anybody that wants to take part in the weekend should go ahead and jump on the Rock Online Discord server throughout that event weekend, and you'll be able to find all the links that you need.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. Let's see if the weather in Huntsville is going to be nice. Especially if I know some of my folks that I talk with up north, like my boss lives in Minneapolis, and they just got snow like this week. So I think Huntsville's going to have a lot better weather. That's always nice for me. I don't want to be cold. I'm tired of being cold here in Kentucky. So I was trying to see if like the 10-day forecast was up yet.
No, it's right now. Huntsville's pretty close to where I live. I'm about an hour away, but we're going to be like low 70s, upper 60s.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be
a while.
Upper. Yeah, they've already got it out there. So upper 70s, with just a little bit of rain forecasted. So, of course, the rain part doesn't matter because we'll be inside. So, but yeah, so looking forward to all of the events here in a couple weeks, and should be fun. So, so moving on to the next thing that we didn't cover. So we covered, last episode, right? We covered all the prizing. We covered a lot of what we're hoping to play. One important question that we did get for the episode is from Sam Powell, and she wants to know, how many mulligans do I plan on buying to be happy? And the answer is as many as it takes. But Alex,
how many mulligans did you do last year? Were you the third mulligan guy last year?
No, I was more than that.
You were looking for absolute carnage, weren't you?
I was looking for
that.
I was looking for something better, and the irony there. The irony there is I mulliganed a Crusader that you beat me with. Obviously not the specific Crusader, but I pulled a Crusader and was like, blah, I don't want this. But yeah, I was looking for, there was a few other figures, like obviously I was looking for like an Iron Allfather or an Absolute Carnage, or just something better than the junk that I was pulling, because it was one booster of War of the Realms and one booster of Carnage. But man, I think I spent $100. I think it was $30 a pop, and I think I spent $120 or $150.
Yeah, this year the mulligans are going to be a little bit different. You know, we are having the Avengers 60th super duper pre-release, and we have a certain amount of cases of that we can work with. You know, WizKids busted their humps to get us this product early. The rest of the product will be arriving way closer to actual pre-release and then release dates. The fact that they were able to get this after the last couple of years with all the shipping issues that are happening worldwide it's a miracle in and of itself. We will have Beyond Spider-Man, Beyond Amazing to help fill in the gaps if people start to mulligan. We want everybody to get as much Avengers 60th as they can, but there will be a cap on mulligans this year. We just are waiting for final attendance numbers before we can fully announce how many mulligans will be available. Right. Last year, it was a lot easier, right? Because we were dealing with 2 sets that had already been released. Now, we tried to do this last year with Disney Plus. If you remember, Disney Plus was coming out. We were hoping to do like the super duper pre-release, but we couldn't get all of that in time. We just had a couple of sealed bricks that we were able to auction off, which we'll be doing for Avengers 60th as well. If you're looking to take part in the auction, there will be sealed bricks of Avengers 60th in the auction, as well as I'll be auctioning off everything that I unbox in my unboxing series, which I'm actually shooting in 2 days, and will be airing May 1st through the 5th. So it's nice synergy that the culmination of my unboxing series will be on May 5th, the day that Scott Porter vs. the World is happening with Avengers 60th. So
Alex, so what time does the sealed start on Friday, Alex? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, registration opens at 9:30.
Okay.
It'll end at 10:59, and boosters will be passed out at 11 a.m. And that's Central for everybody who knows. Don't make the mistake that some people do and think Huntsville is Eastern. It is Central. And then the tournament itself will begin at noon. So, you know, boosters, mulligans, that whole thing will be happening between the hours of 11 and noon. Tournament is going to officially start at noon.
So and, what's good? Yeah, what's good about that, Scott? The reason I asked that question was the videos come out at 9 a.m. Central. So
yes.
we'll have to get Howard to put it up there on the TV on Friday morning for folks that get there. For folks that get there at 9 a.m.
We scooted. I know last year the time was a little later. I think we started an hour later than we did this time, but we're anticipating more people being there this year and a big turnout. We wanted to make sure we had enough time to play and not like mess up the auction night where, you know, we're in the last round and trying to zoom through it to get to, you know, all the festivities for Friday night. So it's going to be a really fun day.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's going to be awesome. And just so I know you said a number earlier, you said like $30. The entry fee for this year is $40 per entry. So just something for everybody to keep in mind. But 100% of each of those entries goes directly to HDSA, minus the production cost for the maps that are part of the prizing. I know just a couple of days ago I announced the Racer Garage maps as both direct-to-consumer sales to raise money for Huntington's disease all throughout the month of May. But the variant map, the reunion variant, I like to call it, will be a part of the prizing for this tournament and all the tournaments throughout the weekend, actually. So whatever that landed production cost is will be just recouped by Rock and by Gamer Mats, and then every cent above and beyond that for all these entry fees goes directly to HDSA. So $40 all in, and all of the proceeds over production costs go straight to HDSA. In the last couple of years, we've made 30,000 plus, 26,000 plus. We're almost up over 60,000 raised in this event weekend over the past 2 years, and we're hoping to do even better this year. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I think
I really enjoy. I was going to say I really enjoy that the HeroClix community. It's really a great thing that that we open up our pocketbooks for that.
Well, speaking of opening pocketbooks, I think one thing that's really going, like the rules change to theme teams is really going to impact is, you know, in the Scott Porter versus the World event, you have the charity props for 5 uses per game, and it's $1, and all the proceeds for the charity props go straight to HDSA. And so without theme props to rely on, which you probably could get theme teams in Avenger 60th if I'm guessing.
Right.
With more players, I'm hoping to see a ton of charity props being thrown out there.
Right.
And a lot of people trying to turn the tide on their game.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Yeah, even with...
I absolutely spent $5. There's a limit of 5, right?
Yeah, 5 per game. We didn't want it to get out of control.
Right.
Get out of control.
Yeah, so at $1 a pop, right? So like, for me, like I would say at $40 for 2 boosters. Like my limit is probably 160. I know depending on the availability and all that other stuff, right? Just I'm talking theoretical, but like, for charity probs, like that's. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's unlimited, but like I got 5 per game and it was $25, I think. 30 bucks, 25, 30 bucks. I don't know. $100 is not even a brick. I would spend $100 on charity probs if y'all let me. I don't like to miss. I don't like to miss.
That's why we put the limit on it there. But we hope that the pricing in itself, on top of getting these boosters, a month and a half early or whatever the official dates are. I don't know if WizKids has actually said official set release dates for Avenger 60th yet, but the fact that you're getting this product so early, I think that it's well worth it, and hopefully the community agrees. And then the pricing on top of what you're going to be able to play with, hopefully, is enticing enough for everybody. WizKids goes above and beyond with the pricing for this event every single year.
Absolutely.
They're there for us every step of the way. So, and I think it also needs to be mentioned that Howard kicks in a lot too. Without Howard, we don't have these maps. Without his connections with Gamer Mats and Stevie Z donating his time to help create the art for the maps. So there's a lot of people that come together on this weekend, and it's pretty darn cool to see.
Yeah, no, it's great. And again, like I know Howard will be excited for me to say this, but Lucky Dice Cafe is a really nice venue.
Dude, they've got the best sandwiches too.
They do,
I don't know
right?
how many Phoenixes I was devouring last year. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of those things
I
that
love
like
the Phoenix.
Like just like everybody here, right? We've all played at conventions. We've all played at Worlds. We've all played at these different venues, and having food and drink right there is so easy. It's so great. It makes the experience a lot more enjoyable, and it makes you not be so tired and lethargic at the end of the day, assuming you're not drinking the beer and wine that Howard has available.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for me, like, Lucky Dice is exactly the thing. I've talked about this for years to my wife, is I wanted to do enough in my own career that I could actually open up a comic and coffee shop. That's what I've wanted to do for a very long time. And when I went down to Lucky Dice, I was like, shoot, man, this is the life, man. This is like, with a little bit more of comics in the shop, not just all gaming stuff. But man, a comics and coffee shop, Lucky Dice is, as far as like food and games as a mashup, dude, is like the dream for me. So, he's got a great spot down there.
Right. Yeah, it's great. So, totally looking forward to the weekend. And I think the other thing we wanted to talk about next, unless there was anything else on the weekend that anybody else wanted to cover.
The only other thing I wanted to mention on the weekend, we talked about this a little bit today in our group, is that if we end up finding time at some point during the weekend, Thursday night, maybe after the Tracy Brock event, or Saturday night, this is the same thing happened last year. We had the Doctor Strange movie. The second one came out the same weekend of the Rock Cup. And this year it's the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And we had a big group of people, I feel like, last year that all went to go see the Multiverse of Madness. So I'm hoping we could do something if we find time. If we we pull very poorly on Thursday or something, we can all escape and go see the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because I heard it's good from a lot of the reviews I'm hearing. But I'm pumped for the weekend.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I'd have to ask my wife if she's okay, because she she's not as big of a nerd as me, but she does love the MCU stuff, and she loves to watch that stuff with me. So I'm gonna have to check with the wife. But that notwithstanding, I'd love to see it. Maybe I'll just make sure that I take her to go see it a second time.
Yeah, that's what I ended up having to do with Sam. Is we went to go see Doctor Strange twice, which was totally fine because it was a good movie.
Yeah, and there's just something about being able to go with, a lot of people that are in, because if you play HeroClix, most likely you like the MCU, like probably a decent amount, or at least are willing to go see the movie. Mm-hmm. So it's just a different environment when you go with 10, 15 people that are all invested in the movies as you are. It's like back in like high school or something, where it's like, the movie's just a little bit more enjoyable because you hear your buddy exclaim something when someone shows up in the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, that's how I feel about this whole weekend, though.
Yeah,
is I think that we do a good enough job, like spreading the net out so that every single kind of HeroClix player has a place throughout this weekend. The teams. Whether you don't like to enter solo, but you do like to be a part of a tournament with your friends, like the teams tournament is that for you. If you're super meta and you want that crown, you want that trophy, Sunday is for you. If you are more, at this point, I'd have to say, I'm not a casual, but I am more of a sealed player. So for people like that who just don't have the time to do full force construction and game testing, we've got Friday. And if you want a game for a good cause, that's all weekend long, including, we wouldn't be here for this tournament weekend if it wasn't for Tracy. Tracy told Howard, if you're going to do a charity weekend, find a charity that doesn't have as much attention as we think it should. And their choice was Huntington's, and they called me, and that was Howard and Tracy. So, you're doing double good in this world by playing on Thursday night with Tracy as well. And that's the thing, even if you're not playing, you're just hanging out with people that love the crap you love. And I don't mean crap in a bad way. I've almost said that. Can you curse on this? I can't, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're
good
with that.
I just want to hang out with people that love the shit I love. And I've said this before, like when I go to work in a new city, when I go to Toronto, or when I worked in London, or when I, worked in Austin, I find three things. I find a basketball court, I find a karaoke spot, and I find a comic shop. And those three things are interesting to me. And if I find people who live there that love those things I love, I'm more likely to find friends and have that experience that you're talking about, Kuz, where like we go to a movie and the people that went with you actually really care about the thing. It's just way more fun. So that's what the entire weekend is to me. It's just being together as a community, and for so long we weren't able to do that, and I know we're getting to do it a lot more now, but this weekend has just a really cool vibe to the whole thing. So yeah, I'd be completely down.
Yeah, sounds great. So during your live stream for the event, you got to preview some really great stuff that we've got coming, and it's super exciting. I'm just reading the dials, so I'm kind of distracted. But let's start off with. So somebody might have to correct me here on the background here, but Space Ghost is Hanna-Barbera, and so is Scooby-Doo. Is that a correct statement?
Yes. So Hanna-Barbera housed so many awesome cartoon properties. And yeah, Space Ghost was around a long time ago as more of like your traditional superhero. But a lot of people who are of this generation, the more Adult Swim generation, know Space Ghost from Space Ghost Coast to Coast. So Jan, Jace, and Blip, those characters were more like the superhero kind of Super Friends-esque kind of characters that used to be with Space Ghost on his old Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Whereas the newer Space Ghost Coast to Coast had like comedic sidekicks. Like basically Space Ghost was Conan O'Brien. And then, Andy, the role of Andy is like Brack. And they have like an alien who's kind of like the Paul Schaefer to, Space Ghost David Letterman kind of like thing. It's a late night talk show. So this seems like it's way more a part of the old Space Ghost cartoon where he was more of a superhero that had a bunch of teammates and would do good in the universe.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. So yeah, I was definitely a coast to coast that's where I learned about Space Ghost, right? So I want to tie this in. It looks like WizKids also announced their convention schedule, and Space Ghost is going to be available at Comic-Con. So I would say that looks like it means he's a buyable.
I mean, until they announce it, I guess.
Yeah, until they announce it. That's an assumption on my part, not a for sure thing. But so most of the time, right, when we see these figures, we say, boy, this thing has 3 point values. So we'll go pass. What does the smallest point value look like?
Some of us, not all of us.
Well, yeah, it's not all of us, but so he's got an 80, 60, 30, 5-range double bolts, team player, celebrity cosmic police, and wow, so traded stealth, super senses, and super strength, and perplex. If Space Ghost has no action tokens, he can use it twice a turn. And then when he uses Perplex, that character has Safeguard, Opposing Prob, and then Power Bands. Choose one for Space Ghost to use until he uses again. EE, Psyblast, ESD, Invulnerability, and Force Blast is free in Telekinesis. That's pretty insane for 30 points.
I'd say he's potentially playable at 60 too, if you just want an extra length to it, because with team player you could get yourself Spider-Man team ability,
right?
And so that makes his super strength a 4 through 6 at that point.
With his super senses, yeah.
Yeah, he gets as I like to call it super duper senses.
Yeah.
It's just like Wonder Woman in that whole situation where, what that team ability is granting on that 4 through 6 was just annoying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because if you play him at 60, then you could choose ESD and Invulnerability, and he has combat reflexes there, and he has the super senses, and stealth. I mean, that's pretty darn good.
Right. But I think in general too, you're also looking at what I think where I think the big value is. I like that you're selling him at 60. The other thing that I would say that it sells him at 60, Alex, is his sidestep super strength. So he can pick up a terrain object and put it back down.
He doesn't have sidestep on 30.
At 60 he does. I said 60.
Oh, 60. Sorry.
At 60. Yeah, I would say that's another bump for him at 60. Sidestep super strength is big. In playtesting this week, before I did it, I asked Jason Alvey, I said, tell me how this feels after I do it. So I TK'd a shipping container underneath of him, and then I TK'd threw it at him, and then his whole team took 1 damage. And I asked, how did that feel? He's like, I didn't feel too great. So sidestep super strength is a big thing to look for, I think, going forward.
30 points for just double perplex.
Yeah, 30 points for double perplex, willpower, force blast for free, and then TK. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Space Ghost is near Venom Mags playable.
Ooh.
That's a bold statement.
I think it is. I don't think it's too wild, right? But the perplex that gives opposing prob, when prob is so precious and valuable now, the fact that you can't use that precious and valuable commodity against someone, it makes things really really big. That's why I've been thinking about that Black Cat a lot more too. But go ahead.
I love, just from a lore perspective, if you don't know who Jan, Jace, and Blip are, Jan and Jace are 2 teenage, I think they're twins or brother sister, and then Blip is a little monkey, and they're part of Space Ghost's kind of cadre. And Jan and Jace, I think, are the ones granting you the double perplex, and Blip is the one that's making sure you can't. He's granting the safeguard opposing probability control. And as being like a distraction, I think possibly. This is where losing some of the flavor text kind of hurts a little bit, but in lieu of creating 3 bystander tokens, which is what I was kind of expecting here. To put it all into a trait that grants some really cool stuff, I think almost makes him more valuable, right? Keeps his cost in line and lets him do some really cool things. So, yeah, I think he's playable too. And from a lore perspective, I think they did a pretty good job of condensing things down to make him still attractive and viable meta-wise.
Right. I mean, he's got charge, super strength, close combat expert. So he's 11 for 4, and then he can pick up whatever shipping container, blocking terrain, or whatever. So this guy's like actually going for like 6 damage at 30.
Yep.
Yeah. And
super solid.
I just wanted to be clear to people that they understand the reason we previewed some of these con exclusives, and I think they finally listed them all now, but you've got Hawkeye and Hawkeye, Merman, Space Ghost, Thor Gwen, Venom God of Symbiotes, the Wonder Woman Generations 3-pack, Captain America on Pegasus, the Watcher, the Joker, the Hanna-Barbera Joker, I might add, and Rainbow Hand Superman. That entire convention exclusive lineup is available for you guys to bid on in our auction that happens on Friday night. And WizKids will get your information after the auction is completed, and then WizKids, upon receiving all of the figures into their warehouses, will put a care package together and send it your way. You get the complete set of all these convention exclusives, which is why they wanted us to preview these pieces last week, because this is the first time anybody got to lay eyes on some of these figures. So it's pretty cool. And if you can't make it to conventions and you're worried about not being able to get these pieces, you can bid on them in our auction.
So I would say I think that's going to be awesome. It'll be good to get those. I'm just looking at some of these figures from on the announcement, because you didn't necessarily have all the pictures of them on your preview, I don't think, Scott. But
yeah, we showed off Space Ghost and Venom God of Symbiotes and the Wonder Woman. And that Wonder Woman is just a brick house, man.
Yeah,
she's nuts up.
Yeah. So she's got she's 150 and 90. And so for 150 points, you do get 10 clicks of life, which is pretty beastly these days. You get the Wonder Woman team ability, so she's got the rollout. And then she's got another friendly character with the Amazon keyword takes damage from an attack after resolutions, you may place Wonder Woman adjacent to that character. And then so Alex, isn't it the Dark Metal Wonder Woman that gives like Justice League and stuff the Amazon keyword?
Yeah.
So she's got the, we'll call it quasi colossal retail effect, right? So being able to just voop across the map when someone takes a damage is really big. And then during force construction, up to 3 friendly characters with the Amazon keyword may be assigned equipment without paying the equipment's cost. That one actually might be worth it in like Silver Age.
Yeah, Silver Age, I think it's big because you also have access to more Amazon pieces.
Yeah,
I think we might have another piece or two in either the Wonder Woman set or something where it also grants Amazon. I feel like there was another Amazon figure.
It might have been. Well, you also get the movie set Amazons as well with that. And well, that's the thing, right? You get her value is 0. Her point value is 0. So because you get blue cube, orange cube, pick a power gauntlet for free.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Yep.
So so her she essentially costs 0. Assuming you got a team that can use that equipment, right? And that includes herself. So she can assign herself some pretty good equipment. Then she's got charge and sidestep, special damage power with 5 damage, then gives her empower, and then she turns off damage powers until your next turn on opposing characters, and then just a really good dial full of some good stats there. So.
Yeah, and with her like light retail, where she just pops in next to, I mean, if you look at her dial, it is very well situated. You know, a lot of times you get opposing powers where you're just like, these two powers don't click together, don't synergize together. But for her, even if she's on click 7, she drops on you. She's got close combat expert and flurry with an 11 attack. Or if she's on click 9 and she voops to you, she's got Blade's Claws with a 10 attack and exploit weakness. I mean, every single click is like really, really dangerous. So yeah, you just gotta play your cards right if she's on an Amazon theme team. And I love that her trait is trying to get you to still run theme in this time where WizKids kind of is pushing theme to the background. So any piece for me, being the themey lore guy that wants you to still run theme to get the most out of it, I'm all about it.
Yeah, so I was going to say, and this is kind of like, when I see things like this, it provides me hope that theme is going to be incentivized other ways. And this is one of the ways to do that. Now, in this case, right, you don't even have to necessarily run a complete Amazon theme team, right? Because it doesn't require the whole theme team. But, like, considering she's 90 points of your build or 150, and then some of those other figures are not 10, 15-point characters, most of your team's going to be Amazon, right? So, if not all of it at that point. So, these are the kind of things that I'm excited to see. We lost Theme Prob and some of the map bonus changed, but this is the kind of stuff that makes me excited to see their focus be on with theme teams. So
you had mentioned the Dark Knight's Wonder Woman earlier as being somebody who plays really nice with her because of granting Amazon, and not to take it back to the tournament weekend, but Dark Knight's Wonder Woman is everywhere in our prizing. I mean, I'm talking, top 8 in almost every tournament. We've got a ton of them in the auction, and some of them might be sprinkled throughout the room as we're, playing events, and unique things happen to certain people. Howard is a big fan of swagging the room when you're there at a tournament. Just, the next person to roll a critical miss, gets this prize out of this box, or, any of these unique situations that happen. So if you're looking forward to picking up this Wonder Woman, you still don't have a Dark Knight's Wonder Woman, which I know not everybody still does. They're going to be everywhere at the event. They're really great.
Yeah. Oh no, she's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a shame. You were talking about hopefully we get more pieces that boost theme teams, but I mean, I guess she might be the only one that we're getting, right? Clearly, there's not potentially 2 other really big pieces that have benefits for theme teams, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Or do we want to skip? Did you want to go all the? Did you want, Alex? Was that your segue to go straight to Scott's figures? Because I was trying to. I was wanting to. I did.
Too good.
I did want to talk about Venom and Hawkeye before we talked about Scott, just because the Scott's figures are the best, right?
You set up that segue so good. It was really hard not.
All right, we can talk about Scott.
I don't want to talk about myself either. Let's talk about Venom Got a Symbiote. It's one of the best looking figures that ever come out of WizKids. So I'm super excited.
Yes, he is very strong, great sculpt, and one of the reasons I appreciate you talking about this stuff, Scott, is that you said that the axe was Mjolnir and something else forged together, I think?
Yeah, so in the King of Black storyline, the universe is all coming together. Eddie Brock is dead, and he's kind of like Symbiote Prime, basically, at this point, right? But he's been taken off the board. And so the rest of the heroes in the universe are fighting against Null. And Null has the Necrosword. He has this crazy ancient weapon, which is now tied into so much of Marvel history. I mean, it goes way, way, way back to the dawn of heroes, like the 1 million BC, character times. And what ends up happening is Silver Surfer goes up against Null one-on-one. And Silver Surfer knows he's going to lose, right? but he basically transforms his surfboard into this crazy sword, and it's like his surfboard is like, and it's throughout the battle, this sword starts to kind of melt, and it's oozing this like Silver Surfer like blood basically off of it, and he's just fighting, and it's Silver Surfer's sword, which is his surfboard basically, and just transformed, and he's battling Null. Mjolnir's on the ground. Thor is done for in this particular battle, and when Eddie Brock is reborn and becomes Symbiote Prime basically, he takes Mjolnir and Silver Surfer's sword, the weapons of two fallen heroes, and he slams them together, and they become this crazy symbiote, golden flame battle axe thing that he is carrying on this sculpt. So yeah, that's the combination.
Yeah, that's it's really awesome. I look forward to seeing it in person. But so we'll talk about it here a little bit. He generates pogs, right? He can get down to, if he gets 4 of them out, he can reduce penetrating damage with his impervious. He's got safeguard outwit. So I'll let Alex. I'll ask Alex first. Alex, do you think he's OMA material at 270?
So obviously the biggest red flag for OMA material is you've got the power wipers, and so how does he fare against them? Which he may not be that bad because he keeps generating the symbiotes, right? So like that helps. I feel like
yes.
Can help. It's not like
it's traded. And symbiote generation is a trait, not a power. Right. So that's good against the Scarlet Witch, and I think there's one big thing that helps him out, and I'll see if you pick up on it, Alex, and then I'll talk about it.
So the biggest thing that helps me out, I think helps out because you have the power wipers essentially, but you also have the problem with the stop sign, and he somewhat circumvents the stop sign with his charge power, because of being able to just swap places, right? Before he uses charge, he can swap,
right,
with a friendly with a symbiote.
Yep.
And so if you move your symbiotes up, and they get stop signed, well, then you get to now swap with them, and he now gets his charge to move. So he kind of helps circumvent the stop sign issue to a degree.
Right. Yeah. The only way to lock him down, right? So I think the big thing for me is he's got improved movement characters. Which, Cosmo, Scarlet Witch, Agatha, all that stuff, they don't get rid of that. So the only way to necessarily get through this guy super easily is to stop sign and Scarlet Witch him together, which is not incredibly easy to do. So does Venom God of Symbiotes have a chance? Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I think. Well, you're talking purely a OMA.
Yeah, OMA. Maybe he has at 150, but I think 150 with a 11 attack and 3 damage may not be enough.
I think at 150 for sure. That charge power and being able to bring in ones with symbiote keywords. So you're talking about, like, that's Carnage Silver Surfer, right?
Yeah.
And so Carnage Silver Surfer runs up, hits, and then Venom God of Symbiotes swaps places and charges.
Yeah, it's
like
possible.
That's a huge 1-2 combo. So I think he's way more playable at 150. I think there's potential for 270, especially because once again we're entering the era where the power erasers aren't going to be there for the life of this figure.
That's right.
Because we're a year when he's legal and coming out. It'll be a year after Disney Plus. So that means Scarlet Witch will be gone, Leech will be gone. You'll still have things like Cosmo, who's not really a power racer, but you'll have other somewhat figures, but not the big heavy ones.
Yeah.
So I absolutely want to pick up a Venom. I think 150 is a sweet spot with all the other symbiote figures or keywords and whatnot. I think he's got a ton of potential, especially spitting out a bunch of pogs, very Apocalypse-esque, where he's just like throwing a bunch of pogs out there. That the pogs are good, right? Plasticity, blades, and they're really hard to kill. Super senses and shape change. Like, there's a lot.
Yeah, and he's and they plan on debuting that figure at Gen Con, which it's good to know that they're going to be back to Gen Con. So the article does say we will return to Gen Con this summer. This team will provide full information as show dates get closer. In addition to the promos first available at SDCC, players can also purchase the following exclusives. So Venom looks like he's purchasable. So
that's good.
That'll be good. I'm glad he's not a winnable, right? So I always like it when Venom figures are some of the most expensive figures in HeroClix. So I'm glad for folks to be able to get such an iconic character at a reasonable purchase price.
And that's another incentive going back to the auction, is like, we still don't quite know which ones of these are purchasable and winnable. And so if you bid on that full convention set, man, you can potentially walk away with some winnable ones, which you might be harder to get. I don't know which ones are winnable or purchasable. So,
well, the article says that they're purchasable.
Well, I mean, like, do they mention all of them are purchasable?
It says players can purchase the following convention exclusives, and it lists out Wonder Woman. Lists out Wonder Woman Generations, Thor Gwen, and Venom GOS.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it'll be great to get them. Yeah, so these things that come out early are still super valuable, right? If you want to get it in May, you definitely need to pony up for that. So.
Yeah, and even the purchasables are sometimes difficult for people to get a hold of. I know a lot of people still haven't gotten Fantastic Thors from last year.
Well, the big one from last year that I didn't even get to purchase at Worlds was Phoenix.
Warp World.
Phoenix, yeah.
Warp.
I'm not sure, Alex. Do we have those for our event?
Oh, I'd have to. I don't think we do.
I might have to make a phone call and see if we can't get some Warp World Phoenix out there. What we want to do with the weekend that we have is try to make sure that players who might have missed out on certain things, that everybody comes and that comes and participates in one way, shape, or form. Feels like they're walking away with something that they haven't been able to get a hold of, or something that will really benefit their collection. So, all those other convention exclusives from last year, we try to make sure that we have something for everybody. So maybe I'll make a phone call and see what's up with the Warp World Phoenix here.
Yeah, I didn't see any. I didn't see any on the list. I'm just looking at like singles.
I think the only Phoenix I remember typing out was the BC
Phoenix
Avengers.
Sentinel.
Yeah,
we have Phoenix Sentinel. Yeah. We have, all the Punchline and Harley Quinns and, Spider Hulks and all of those Fantastic Thors and stuff from last year for people that maybe still haven't gotten a hold of all of those. Because I know that some people went to Memphis and were hoping that a lot of that stuff would just all be available, and it didn't end up being. So we're trying to be another opportunity for people to get a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got I don't see any. The Phoenix Sentinel. You're right. Yeah. I'm looking at the Saturday pricing. So the only other one that we did get a dial for was Hawkeye and Hawkeye, and I don't know that I have a lot to. It's kind of a generic Hawkeye dial, to be honest, for 75 points. But I do like the fact that they make the duo figures popping out of Pog. I do like that, and I do like the improved targeting that they have. But I don't necessarily think that it's a super competitive figure. I'll let you two prove me wrong or right there, but
I'll let you go first, man.
Yeah. So one, you said you feel like this is a typical Hawkeye dial. This looks anything but a typical Hawkeye dial because it looks like a Crazy Jane. Like, it looks like one of those dials where there should be a power that says go to Click 2 or go to Click 3 to like switch it up?
I say it would look. I'll clarify. It looks like all the Hawkeye dials together all at once. But there's no special powers on the dial. The big thing is what the Pog does. The stats are relatively mediocre for 75, or relatively what you would expect for 75, and the additional attacks and stuff are okay. I don't know if it's redeeming enough to make it worth 75 points. It's still cool. I still like it. I just don't know if I don't think it's a competitive figure.
The few things I do like that they typically have skated away from, and they've kind of brought it back. One, they've kind of added. This is like a roundabout way of having the old duo figure, double attack.
Yeah.
Double action or whatever it was. I do like that, where it's like you can attack once per turn. Hey, you get to make another attack. It's like cool. Bringing a little bit of that back, because I used to love duo figures. I also like that it's not once per game. At the beginning of your turn, you can make a Kate Bishop. Like it's just you keep getting to make a Kate Bishop, and when she dies, well, that's when you're taking damage based off of that. So I do like that aspect, because I feel like in recent history, it's been, you get to create this cool Pog once. That's it. And if it dies, oh well, that sucks. So for me, I'm looking at Hawkeye thinking, all right, I'm just going to make a Kate Bishop and send her out there and lay back and let Hawkeye and Hawkeye like make moves if they get close. But mostly it's just Kate Bishop running, which is very much like the TV show, I guess, right? Like she runs ahead and like does her own thing, and the Hawkeye has to come in and clean up. Like that's how I feel like I would end up playing this Avengers team figure. So
right, yeah, it looks like it's based on the comic too, but it feels kind of like the TV show too, which I like. It says it's from the 2013 comic as well. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say as far as like the lore side of things. Like it seems to me like they do want these comic and MCU figures to kind of. And they're doing this with a lot of characters now, where they're trying to do like these catch-all dials. I thought we were going to get smaller, more specific dials, but they did that for a couple of sets, and it created a lot of different sculpt reuse and stuff. And I think they heard the community on that. So now I think they're trying to make it so that since Disney Plus is a part of HeroClix now, that a comics-based figure could still play nice for people who are only familiar with these characters from the Hawkeye Disney Plus show, which I actually really enjoyed. But Kuz, I really kind of felt the same way. Like even though this feels comic-based, it's more kind of geared towards fast and funny, kind of like the show was. Like you said, Kate Bishop kind of goes and does her own thing, and then Clint has to come in and kind of clean up the mess and do the stuff. So that's what I was getting from this as well. And I think we're going to be seeing more of that, more Disney Plus kind of MCU friendly takes on traditional comic characters.
Dana, am I seeing this wrong? Does she have autonomous?
Yeah, she does.
I mean, we haven't. When was the last time we had an autonomous figure?
Not in a while.
Pog, specifically.
Not in a while.
I mean, the fact that we have a Pog that could potentially have, like, she starts out with good powers, I mean, that elevates it for me. Like, I was originally kind of in the wheelhouse of, 75 is much, 50 probably would have been better. But to get another autonomous Pog that you could just, and I don't think this is unique. Is it unique? No.
No, the figure it's not.
I don't know if I don't know if I'm paying 150 for two, but the potential of like throwing an autonomous Pog out there that just gets a slew of powers, and when she dies, okay, you turn her to get potentially better powers down the dial. Like, I'm actually liking this figure more and more, especially that I know she's autonomous now. So,
I get it. But now, Alex's segue aside, we get to talk about what we really want to be talking about, and that is Scott Porter in HeroClix. So I guess that's a misnomer a little bit, because we already do have a Scott Porter Pog. which was super good. She still is super good. But now we get actual figure with a dial, Scott Porter. So Scott, I tell you what, and this is 100% there. I was trying to follow along with how to get these figures in my hands, and this is a legitimate question. This is not me like doing like a super sly way to promote buying the figure and the proceeds and all that stuff, all the great stuff there. I was trying to follow along. So there's 2 figures, and there's going to be one of them that has a variant. Is that so? Walk me through. Walk me through how to get those.
Right. So the initial thought by WizKids when they came to me was that they wanted to do a Scott Porter direct-to-consumer figure that would release throughout convention season, actually, and would make HeroClix for Huntington's kind of a year-long, kind of campaign, as opposed to just being in the month of May. When I launched HeroClix for Huntington's, I chose May because that's Huntington's Disease Awareness Month, and while they're trying to drive up awareness, they never really had any fundraising efforts in that month, and I wanted to kind of do something that could do both. And when WizKids came to me with this idea, they were like, "Hey, why don't we make a Scott Porter figure re-release at some point, Gen Con or San Diego Comic-Con or somewhere in there, and it keeps this campaign kind of raising money for HDSA all year long." I said, "That's awesome, man." And then they came back to me on their own, because I was already just going, that this is so cool, and the fact that I'm going to be a figure is pretty insane. And then Jake and Justin and Jimmy all came back to me over at WizKids, and they said, "Hey, we actually want to do a variant that is specifically HeroClix for Huntington's, and we want to release that at the beginning of your weekend." Now, these figures are in production, and for anybody out there that's wondering how they're going to get these figures in their hand, what's going to happen is you're going to buy this directly from WizKids. Pre-order will go up on their website, WizKids.com. We'll have these direct to consumer. You can purchase them through the WizKids website. Pre-order will start May 4th, which is the beginning of the HeroClix for Huntington's event weekend. And that will be for the HeroClix for Huntington's Scott Porter variant. So that's kind of what I meant. The Scott Porter Powerbomb, the more offensive figure that has the white t-shirt with the WizKids logo on it, that one will be available for pre-order later in the summer when other convention exclusives are becoming directly purchasable. So you'll just have to follow WizKids. I don't have the official date for when that one is going to go up for sale. I will share as soon as I know, of course. Both of those are going to be pre-orders. Now, a lot of people are asking, why is it only for pre-order? Why don't we have them on hand? Why aren't they going to be a part of the convention weekend? Well, what WizKids wanted to do is donate every cent of both of these figures to HDSA, of course, just beyond production cost. So all proceeds for both of these figures are going to go directly to HDSA. From what I've heard from WizKids, they're going to do a run of 1,000 of each of these figures. They're going to be $20 a piece. And upon receiving the order, whether or not they sell through, WizKids is that day just going to cut a check to HDSA for the entire order. They don't care if it sells through or not. They're donating, 1,000 figures worth of $20 a piece directly to HDSA.
Wow,
so we already
big.
are doubling or tripling what we've made in years past for the HeroClix for Huntington's event initiative. And they've made this kind of a year-long campaign, which I think is so cool. And I think they will sell. I think there's enough people in the community that are going to want to have these figures. And I think WizKids really said, look, we want to make these 2 figures different enough. We also want them to synergize a little bit. So how do we do that? And they actually let me design the heck out of this thing, and I think they let me do a little too much maybe, but these 2 figures are pretty cool. And I wanted the HeroClix for Huntington's variant to be, and that's what I'm calling them. The black t-shirt with the HeroClix for Huntington's logo on it, that's the HeroClix for Huntington's variant to me. And then the one with the white t-shirt on is the Power Pump variant. So if anybody out there is wondering which version of Scott Porter I'm talking about. But
gotcha. So there's not a variant just to be clear, there's not a variant. There's not two figures the same
Both
thing.
named Scott Porter.
Right. Well, sorry. I want to specifically so the one that you're talking about that releases first is the WK23002. That there's only one variant of that figure.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, there's WK23002. I didn't know how best to communicate all of this to everybody.
Gotcha.
Because, this particular, I guess the other way to separate them is by their appearance.
Gotcha.
WK23002, the significant appearance is HeroClix for Huntington's charity tournament. The Scott Porter WK23001 with the white T-shirt is WizKids HeroClix unboxings. So
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
So the first one out is the 002, the Huntington's version. That goes up for pre-order May 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about that one first.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I told them a couple of names of what I would want the powers to be. Family is everything is Huntington's Disease Society of America's main slogan, because Huntington's disease is a quintessential family disease. Every child of a parent who has Huntington's disease has a 50-50 chance of inheriting it. And it tears through families. And so I wanted Family is Everything to be on this dial. They came to me with Fight for a Cure and the comics knowledge and acting roles. And then I countered and said, look, I want to give back to the community, with this figure in a way, or just a nod at least. And so we have the trait counting on the community. And we could break all these things down separately. I just kind of wanted to give people a window into how these powers came to be named and why they are named the way they are. And I'm a big theme guy, so I wanted both of these figures actually to have a lot of bent into wanting to play these figures on themed teams.
Gotcha. So let's talk about that one. So there's two distinct differences here between the figures that we want to talk about. But let's kind of break down. So maybe just a little bit of the easier stuff first, right? So Family is Everything is your special defense power, super senses. And then friendly characters modify defense +1 when adjacent to a friendly character that shares a keyword with them.
Yes.
Oh, so the reason I paused reading that is you're silly good, Scott. So the way that's worded is it's two characters that share a keyword with each other on the map. They get +1 defense, and so like Flash and Batman being across the map have +1 defense if they're with each other. So they don't have to be adjacent. I read that first as they have to be adjacent to Scott, and they don't. Just as long as they're adjacent to each other across the map, it's a static +1 across the board, which is super duper awesome. And then that's super great. For a 4-click figure for 25 points, we could just end it there and be like, all right, Scott's super playable. He gives a static +1 to your theme team across the board. Done.
Yeah. So when I was watching the live stream, I was at a Starbucks because I'm just getting my car fixed. And when you previewed these figures, I had to get up and leave the Starbucks because I was like, I was making too much noise to even the annoying people that are usually at one of those places on the phone talking obnoxiously loud. I was at that level where I was just like, no. It's like, wait. It does what? I had to excuse myself because this figure is pretty nutty,
right?
Like with everything that you do,
right?
When I was designing this figure, the first thing that came from WizKids itself came my way is they really wanted end cap on these figures because they have this thought that people who watch the unboxings or take part in this tournament or whatever, they really It's like the end cap is to show that they're going to sit through the whole thing. They're going to watch. Like whenever the unboxing video drops, people are going to stop what they're doing. They're going to watch and see what's coming, right? And I said, if I trade all this end cap in, what can I get? It's just so you know, like when you trade end cap in, you can do an awful lot of cool stuff. So,
right.
I just throughout the design process, a lot of what theme I granted you is going away. I didn't know if there was a way that we could word some things to keep some of that theme stuff alive. So my first trait, the comics knowledge and acting roles. When establishing theme teams, choose any keyword, then choose a team ability that another friendly or opposing character, and that is really cool. That came from them, not from me. I can use any team ability on the board. Opposing characters figure in that out as well. This game, Scott Porter has the chosen keyword and team ability. During force setup, game setup, if Scott Porter is part of a theme team, increase the result of your roll for first player, by +1. So, I wanted that map roll bonus, and they worded it and put it in there. But the family is everything special power plays nice with this too, because I become a member of that same theme. Yeah. If you choose. So I'm friendly to myself, so I can get that +1 defense as well, which is big because if you're using Scott Porter, the HeroClix for Huntington's version, the way that I was hoping you would, you're using him kind of as like a one person pit crew. Remember back in the day, old enough HeroClix players will know that you never started a force construction at 300. You always started it at like around 265 or whatever that was, to make sure that you had Jean Grey, the con artist, and Destiny, right? And whatever that combination of things, rookie Black Panther or whatever to get you outwit, right? So you had a pit package, as I called it back in the day. You had some outwit, you had perplex, you had probability control, you had telekinesis. Then you can build out the rest of the team. So force construction back then was a little bit different, at least in the way that I approached it. And I don't know how everybody out there feels about that, especially newer players. They might not have, catch all those references. But, I've got click 1 telekinesis, I've got click 1 probability control. Click 1 perplex, and then probability control as a trait that we'll get to in a minute. And I'm granting +1 to defense with the family as everything's thing.
So Scott, do you know how I see immediately building your figure?
What?
So it's this figure. It's you. It's a Carter shield on a figure with defend, and it's the +1 defense to +1 defense when using defend tarot card.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, there's plenty of 19 defend out there. I think you pair. I'm just picking off the top of my head, right? There's Wonder Woman Prime. She doesn't have the Carter shield, but she has a 19 defend. And then there's the Wanda Maximoff from Disney Plus with the Carter shield. So you just make that whole bundle, like Wanda with the Carter shield and Scott Porter. On a theme team, everybody's a 21.
Yeah. And on top of that, if you manage to get through it and you're not one-shot KOing, which I know a lot of teams do, you've got to deal with my second trait, Fight for a Cure, which gives me support.
Yeah.
Which you're not having to roll against high defense anymore. And at the Fight for a Cure trait, just for anybody out there listening, support. And at the beginning of your turn, Scott Porter may heal a friendly character 1 click, and that's anywhere on the map. That's regardless of line of fire.
Yeah. So
that's regardless of any of that stuff. So
yeah.
You've got this high defense, and you're fighting through it, and you're trying to. And this is especially nasty, I think, from a gameplay perspective, when you're dealing with figures that have stop clicks.
Yeah.
On their dial, if you team Scott Porter up with Blackheart, if you can't punch through that stop click and then you're healing above that stop click again, getting back down to it, it's just kind of nasty. It's not exactly how I wanted it to play. It's something that kind of hit me after the figure was designed, and I was like, oh no.
Right.
Oh wow, yeah, that makes it tough.
And
to have such a high defense support character, support doesn't usually play that way. Support is usually still, pretty easily removable, right? You got Aunt May, you get Aunt May off the map. Scott Porter's a little bit tougher to get off the map.
Yeah. Well, and Scott, I think the big thing is when you designed this, right, is you did a good job with making them traits, not special powers. So the support can be outwitted, but at the beginning of your turn, Scott Porter may heal a friendly character 1 click is not outwittable. Because it's not a power, it is a trait. So that is super fantastic. And then as you're going into high defense Porter group, you get to reroll, Scott.
Yes.
So Scott, did you ever imagine you would create a character that would further cement why Felix Faust would never come back to life? Because you're channeling your inner Rocket Raccoon with this power, in my opinion.
Now, so Scott, do you understand all of those references?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I just want to make sure, right? So, for those that may not understand that listening to the show, Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy set was able to re-roll any dice roll once per turn, and Felix Faust D20, it was used to re-roll D20 Felix Faust D20, which made that all get changed. Prob used to be able to re-roll Faust D20 as well. So that caused game-changing rules, fundamental rules changes, and Scott Porter can 3 times per game, once per turn, re-roll any roll if he's part of a theme team. Map wide.
Look, theme team re-rolls have they're going the way of the dodo, and this is like the last bastion of that, kind of imitating the theme team PC that could come out. The trait that we're talking about is called Counting on the Community, and that's the name that I really wanted to make sure that I wanted this to be on this figure, just because of how appreciative I am of everybody out there who has stepped up again and again in this community. I think it's one of the greatest gaming communities in the world. I'm so proud to be a part of it. But Counting on the Community, the trait is if Scott Porter is part of a theme team, he starts the game with 3 community tokens. If Scott Porter has any community tokens once per turn, you may re-roll any roll. If you do, after resolutions, remove a community token from Scott Porter. And I wanted community to just be a big part of this figure for this HeroClix for Huntington's charity tournament variant. And, WizKids just came through in a huge way. So every time you're using one of these re-rolls, you're reminded why these things exist in the first place. And that's really because of everything the community has done. And, to raise money for HDSA. But yeah, it basically emulates Team PC. You can re-roll it from anywhere on the map for one of those rolls once per turn. And you only get to do it 3 times. But this Scott Porter has Perplex on the first 2 clicks and then gains probability control on the back end. Now, the chances of, if Scott Porter gets hit, him staying on the map after he's hit is very small. 4 clicks, in my mind, might as well just be 1 click. I mean, everybody's going to be ramping damage, making sure that one-shot KO things anywhere on the board, So right, I don't know if you ever end on that PC, but him having this ability to reroll anything anywhere on the board, I mean, really makes this guy, this particular figure, back of the map, affecting everybody else positively all over the place, and then you coming back to him as opposed to him being out in the fray. So chances of somebody getting to Scott Porter, I think if they're wasting time to get to a 25-point figure, maybe you've already kind of swung the battle in your favor. So,
right. Yeah, no, I like it. And the fact that you can be a part of any theme team, because when establishing theme teams, you can just choose the keyword of all of the other team members that are on the build sheet. So
no, you choose any keyword.
Well, he would have to choose the keyword of the rest of the team to be a part of a theme team, make it a theme team. Yeah.
Right. But you don't have to, technically. I mean,
that's right.
If you want all the theme team bonuses, I'm saying that your ability allows you to just choose any keyword. You just get the keyword. So if if you're building celebrity and you're already themed, you could choose another keyword.
That's right.
Which is big. Now it happens establishing theme team, so it can't be utilized to get you any of the equipment for free. because that happens during force construction, I believe. So, like, you couldn't say, oh, I now have Green Lantern Corps and I'm going to get the Green Lantern ring on Scott, because that happens during establishing theme teams.
Wow, Alex, you're such a good segue to the other Scott Porter figure.
Well, one other thing I wanted to mention, though, is, like, you do have some survivability, Scott, with super senses. And because you could, technically, more likely than not, your opponent has cosmic energy as a team ability. And you're not limited to only copyable team abilities. You just choose a team ability and you have it.
Right.
So you can make yourself power cosmic or cosmic energy.
Or Spider-Man or Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's so, like, when I saw this, and the more I look at it, the more I think of, like, I did not think a figure could get more undercosted than Venom Magneto. And then I saw this figure at 25, and I was like, okay, like, just the TK, Sidestep, and Perplex is probably worth it for 25. Add in all 3 traits and the super senses with the defensive rays, like, geez Louise. Like, that is insane. And now I'm debating, do I want to give you an Indigo ring for super support, or do I want to give you a Sinestro ring for negative Perplex, because you've got both on your dial, so you'd get the bonuses for those. So I got to debate if I want to give you one of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I catch a little errata. On the first trade, especially, maybe uncopyable. Still remains uncopyable for me, but because it does say choose, it doesn't say copy. You're completely right. So, but WizKids, we spent a good amount of time designing these figures and kind of going back and forth. And I got to say, the whole design process was really cool with them.
Yeah, you're going to be. I'm definitely pre-ordering both of you as soon as I can get you. So
that's awesome, man.
And then go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we're kind of switching to the other variant, I'd like to call this one the Powerbomb variant. And for newer players, they might not remember what was called Powerbomb, but to key it into the other variant, we're talking about undercosted. Start talking about power creep. Powerbomb came up as a kind of a joke thread, a mystery set where there was an info leak. And basically, all of the figures as we knew them in the game prior to this announcement of the new set Powerbomb were going to be rendered completely obsolete, because these new figures, were going to be 30 points for what should cost 1,000 points, basically. And it became this thread on HC Realms and became widely accepted as this term to kind of reference, oh yeah, this is a real Powerbomb kind of figure. This is, when is the new set Powerbomb coming out, and became this mythical kind of reference. So both of these figures are holding up a brick of Powerbomb, and I wanted to bring that old chestnut back to the newer generation of players, and I was able to do it with this variant. I don't know where you guys want to start on this one, but yeah, we can break it down.
So the first trait, you become the best equipment piece in the game, because you get any piece of equipment that works, right? The newer equipment with the keywords and stuff. You get any piece of equipment that you want for free. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say that, but yep. And I see the big thing for me, at least, is you fit on any keyword. Scott Porter has all keywords, even when he's not on the map. So you instantly become the best ring bearer and the best barrier piece, because you're making stop signs. So every team has barrier now for 25 points.
Yeah. There's a lot of pieces that you can, a lot of keywords that are just, like, missing one or two things. Like, oh shoot, what's the one? I'm blanking. Crazy, the Chief. Crazy Jane.
The Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol, right? Like, we were talking about Doom Patrol and the new chief and bringing in people. It's like, but, you're still missing some points. Well, I mean, Scott's on Doom Patrol now. So, welcome to Doom Patrol. You've also got a ring. You're also doing other stuff. So like,
Right.
this is and it's also insane when you think about swaps. I don't want to think about swaps, but like him having X-Men, having Avengers, having every swappable keyword, there's a lot that could go in. Having all keywords is massive. Also, he has symbiote, right? So I mean, there's that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, initially I thought we were gonna have, because both the trait for WK23001, which is the white T-shirt, the Powerbomb variant, and 002, they both have a trait called Comics Knowledge and Acting Roles, and I thought both of them would have the same text. So this was completely a surprise to me that this has different text and now has much different application. So yeah, I was kind of surprised, but I wasn't gonna push back at all. When I saw this, I was like, okay, yeah, because I wanted this Powerbomb variant to be a little more, have the ability to be a little more offensive if you wanted it to be part of kind of, if the other one is more home team, starting area material, this one's definitely like away team, paired up maybe with another figure out front if you need. And you'll see later some of the special powers actually really play into that. With Powerbomb and what's in the cup today.
Yeah.
But, before you get on the map, I really wanted both of these to be theme centric. So having all keywords, even when I'm not on the map, is definitely a big part of that. And the second trait, what is up everybody out there in HeroClix land, which they named all these powers outside of Powerbomb on this piece. But at the beginning of the game, if Scott Porter is on a theme team, other friendly characters modify attack by +1 as long as Scott Porter is on the map. At the beginning of the game, if all other friendly characters are from the same HeroClix set, other friendly characters modify damage by +1 as long as Scott Porter is on the map. When I saw that this was something they wanted to give this character, kind of the anti-collector, I flipped out.
Was kind of reverse collector, I think.
Yeah.
Bizarro collector.
Bizarro, yeah. So
Bizarro, yeah.
So so I just read collector again because the first big thing was from Worlds last year, right? Does your trait apply to mind control figures? And it doesn't. It'll just apply to figures on the force at the beginning of the game. So
yeah, it's like a pulse. It's a pulse if you wanted to use that phrase.
Yeah.
Like it's a pulse at the beginning of the game.
Right.
So no pogs, no mind control get affected.
Right. Okay. So that makes sense, and I'm totally okay with that. Just wanted to clarify that for folks. So that's if you're on a theme team, you get the +1 attack, which is super easy to do. I tell you what, Scott. You know who I think your two variants go the best with?
Who?
Thanos.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it does, right? Because any one-man army that can now pick up these two pieces to share their theme, all of a sudden, yeah, of course, I'm going to be buffing them up
right.
a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, so Thanos wants a 14 attack on his top dial. He likes to get free heals with his 11-click dial. I'm just talking about both figures here all at the same time here. And he likes a free stop sign, free ESD, and he likes Perplex. He likes printed prob. Woo!
Yeah, for me, why I was, and I know where your head's going with this, Daniel, but we're two completely different kinds of players. For me, what I really loved about this is WizKids has a way, when they're making HeroClix sets, of giving you just enough of a theme team, taking up just enough slots that they don't give you the complete team, but you'll pick up one or two pieces a set or two later. Well, if you want to play that theme, if that theme happens to be one of your favorite teams, and you want to play it now and you're lamenting the fact that, man, I just wish I had the 5th member of the team or the 6th member of that team, this Scott Porter can step in for you in that regard, become thematic for you, give you some benefits, and let you fill out, a team that you have a lot of the pieces of your favorite comic book team, but you're still waiting on that one or two pieces to come later. Kuz mentioned Doom Patrol.
Right.
We didn't get all of Doom Patrol, right? And so Scott Porter could step in and just kind of help fill out those points and make that team really viable. And so that's what I was looking at. But the fact that you're immediately going to Thanos, I'm just like, oh my god, what have I done? What have I done?
Yeah, so what you've done is it's 175 for Thanos, 25 for the first Scott Porter at 200, 225 for the second Scott Porter, 265 for Watcher B from the starter. Carter Shield is 5 points for 265, and then you get 25 points for, at least before retirement, you have Star Sapphire with her Star Sapphire ring. So that makes me extremely excited to get both Scott Porters in hand.
Yeah, you were. And you know what else Thanos is going to love is, Thanos is not getting one shot, right? Like that's one figure that you're not necessarily. It's going to be over right away. And I've got a special defense power, What's in the Cup Today, which is why I kind of like this Scott Porter version as kind of like a way team. I have a stop click, and I have regeneration. But this next part is what I think is key when you've got him up front. When he uses it, heal each adjacent friendly character 1 click. And if you're thinking you're going to get up on to Scott Porter and you want to be wasting attacks on a 25-point figure, I have another special attack power and Power Bomb. I have knockback.
Yep, Pulse Wave.
Pulse Wave.
Yep.
Doesn't target friendly characters.
Yep.
That, to me, that combo, the stop click, the regeneration, the healing, and being able to push everything away from you, I'm interested to see like the applications that you guys think that might have, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. And let's put it this way: you also have Team Player on the 001 dial, so you can get a little bit of, say, Spider-Man TA or Green Lantern with the sidestep reposition. That's huge. Golly, maybe not Underworld because you're 25 points. But I don't know, Alex, Sinister Syndicate maybe.
Yeah, there's just so much potential,
right?
Which is nutty. Like everyone, you're probably gonna be. I don't think it's probably by far the most played piece at Worlds.
Assuming they're granted they come out.
Power. Right. Granted, Power Bomb is legal, even if just the HeroClix for Huntington's version is legal. Granted, they all come out by far. Like we thought, Mad Jim Jaspers or Venom Max was going to be the most played. Like, there's no way your figure is. And to piggyback what you were saying, Scott, like when they made all the changes with the rules and the theme team, I was disappointed because I like building theme, and my hope was, okay, maybe this is where they're going to make the team-up cards more relevant. Maybe they're going to try to build on that and say, hey, these team-up cards you play Avengers, there's bigger things coming. And then here's the Scott Porter pieces that even add on further to that. So I liked that aspect of, hey, it isn't just a blanket, oh, Thanos and his one friend is now a theme team that's as good as every other theme team. It's now, oh, you've got Scott Porter who adds all this other theme team stuff. You've got maybe some team-up cards or something that add, he could be an Avenger and join the Avengers team or Hellfire Club or whatever, right? So that's I'm really pumped to see to get these figures and try to build something around them.
Right.
You mentioned one other thing I want to say is, Scott, you said you might need an errata at some point. I think the one power that might, funny enough, is probably at the beginning of your turn, Scott Porter may heal a friendly character 1 click. I think that might be the only thing I would really want to change. Because, like you said, when you deal with things with stop clicks, like you have Apocalypses and Genesis, where it's like it's a hassle to get you to that stop click, and then you heal them another click, in addition to any other thing at the beginning of your turn. Like you can and play you with Death Metal Wonder Woman, right? So it's like, oh, they're gonna die. Okay, I'll choose to keep them because I know you don't have a follow-up attack. I'm gonna bring this one guy back to his last click, and knowing Scott's going to heal him up one other click at the beginning of my turn. Like, there's a lot of cool combos that I think are going to be seen. And I think if anyone out there is listening, isn't thinking about picking up Scott Porter, you're nuts. I think you need to absolutely go ahead. It's for charity anyway, so it's not like you're like feeding the man. I don't know. It's like, it's great. You're helping charity, and you're getting 2 figures that are you're gonna want to stick on your team anyway.
Yeah, you know what? I think I think if WizKids takes anything away from the folks that work there that listen to the podcast, is make sure your servers are good to go on Thursday morning.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have a site-wide crash. Yeah, I wanted to say I hope these 2 pieces don't negatively affect the game at all. I hope the fact that everyone can get it for a set price is really cool. Everybody is going to have a piece that they can feel is really, I think, viable. Both of them, I think, are viable. And there's a lot of times where people are chasing, for lack of a better word, chasing figures that are really meta relevant, where this is, how much it is, and how useful it's going to be, and you can start building now. I know that we've talked nebulously about dates. From what I know, pre-order May 4th for the HeroClix for Huntington's version of Scott Porter, and it should be shipping approximately September 1st. And the second one will be available for pre-order on September 1st and should start shipping and fulfilling immediately. As far as what I know from WizKids, when do these figures become tournament viable? They become tournament viable 7 days after shipping. So if this Scott Porter figure ships on September 1st, then by September 8th, both of these figures should be tournament legal. So by Memphis, they should both be in people's hands and be legal for tournaments. And I hope that they are viable. But those are the dates that I have from WizKids. And, the win will be the place to get official, firm confirmation of all this stuff.
Sure.
But that's what I know right now with WizKids. Everything is subject to change, but this is the plan. So, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. So I think we just have, 2 more figures, 2 more things to talk about today. As we continue down the ridiculous. Well, we've got 3 things left to talk about. So it's been a whole lot of previews that come out since our last episode. We've got the Scott Porter, the Scott Crampton, the Lesser Scots Pog, that came out from his win last year from the tournament. And, it's 4 points. So it's got a trait. Scott Crampton only deals damage on a critical hit, which means that if Scott Crampton's given poison, Scott Crampton can't use poison, which I find to be interesting. And then he's got free make an attack. If Scott Crampton is adjacent to a friendly character, lines of fire to him are hindered. And so it's 4 range, 4 movement with stealth, 4 attack with smoke cloud, 4 defense with toughness, and 4 damage enhancement for 4 points. So all of that combined, right, is what you've got. Is one of the most ridiculous things is that you have a 4-point enhancement piece.
It's pretty nutty. Like,
and is the Scott Pog unique? Because it looks like
yes,
okay,
it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
it is.
So all the Pogs are unique. Thus far, all the HeroClix for Huntington's Pogs are unique.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Scott Porter, Spirit of the Game, and now Scott Crampton. Yeah, all unique at this point.
Right.
So but what I love is the playability, the synergy between Scott Crampton, and I don't think maybe he did think it through, but Scott Porter and Scott Crampton. The Scott Porter Pog allows a critical hit. It has the power, may all your rolls be critical hits. Any roll of 10, 11, or 12 are critical hits. So when I look at this and I think about the fact that if you play him with, and I know there's another figure out there who grants that same power, a critical hit of 10, 11, or 12 on a 4-point figure that can deal then 5 damage is pretty insane. A 4-point Pog dealing 5 damage to anyone from 4 squares away. is kind of nutty to me. So I like the synergy between the two, and I don't know if Scott meant to do that, but he kind of did.
Right. No, I definitely like it, and 4 points for Smoke Cloud is not for naught, but the 4-point enhancement is pretty insane.
Yeah, and when I'm building teams, every person on my team has equipment assigned, and I sometimes find myself with 5 points left over, like often, and we don't have a ton of 5-point things that isn't equipment. It's like, hey, you're at 295. That sucks. Like, we don't have location bonuses in Modern. We don't have like terrain that costs points anymore, like special terrain.
And what I was going to say, Alex, is what the big thing with him being 4 points is that you do have the Plastic Man objects, like the barrel, and you have like the barrel and stuff still too that are like 3. Right, so you can get up to 10 points now by playing the 3-point objects together. With a
absolutely.
with a Crampton. So
yeah, like you absolutely want to grab one of these, because the hardest part for me when building with Scott, your Pog or the spirit of the game is like, the 20 points or 25 was just a little much sometimes when I'm team building, and I find myself with sometimes 5 to 10 points, and especially with everyone already being equipped, it's like, okay, having extra equipment I can't do anything with. So I'm literally I don't want to necessarily throw a Plastic Man object out. So what do I want to do? And Scott's Crampton, Lesser Scott's Pog, like, I mean, that fits the role of 4-point enhancement, right? Like, sure. And who knows what shenanigans there are to be had with free just make an attack. There's always shenanigans. Like, obviously in Silver Age there is, because you can do that to get troublemakers or trouble alerts, because you're just making an attack and he's definitely going to miss. If he doesn't, he's dealing 5 damage. So, like, there's benefits. Definitely a lot of things that could be done with just a 4-point Pog. Kudos to him though, with staying on brand with 4 points though.
Yeah, I mean, he's representing his team, his play group, and that's what I was kind of hoping for every year with the Creative Bystander prize, is that somehow community would be represented. I thought Matt did a great job with Spirit of the Game last year, and I think Scott is kind of for whoever wins that prize this year, laid out kind of a really interesting thing as well. Is maybe you want to keep that Pog's cost down a little bit, and maybe you just want to do one thing really well and just focus on that, and you'll see way more play. But I think, Kuz, I think you're completely right. I think everybody out there is going to want one of these, and the good thing about these is WizKids always creates 500 of these Pogs, because they want it to be widespread enough that people don't feel like they have missed out or they don't have the ability to get one. I don't know what the plans are for them as far as distributing this, but I know this weekend for HeroClix for Huntingtons, if you're at home and you jump on, you play online battle royals, you've got a chance to win these. We've got a ton of these in the auction. We actually have a number of them that Scott Crampton will sign, and I think those will go for a pretty good amount. But then we have a number of them that you're actually bidding on for Scott not to sign, and I think those might actually make a little more money, and that's really cool. If you're there at the event weekend, the bystander tokens always are like the biggest tier of prizing, meaning the most people. So, top 16s, top 32s, whatever that is. The Scott Crampton. Jeez, I talk about myself too much. The Scott Crampton bystander token will be prizing. It'll be the biggest amount of prizing, to go to the most people. It'll blanket the most placement. And the battle royals in house live at Lucky Dice will be having Scott Crampton Pog as well. So you've got a ton of opportunities to win this piece, and I think you're completely right. I think everybody should want one of these, because in a pinch, this fills so many roles for so many different teams.
Right.
Let me ask.
And then Alex. So Alex, what I was going to say is, Alex, we need to get with Jonathan and line out our teams. Finish lining out our teams for next week.
Yeah.
Because this is, I think, I want to design a bystander.
Well, you're not having regrets on trying to persuade him not to because you had you didn't have the opportunity, but you were talking with Scott last year, right? About whether to do a legacy or do a bystander. You got this. You got the second choice.
Yeah, I got the second choice, right? And no, I'm not. I mean, my only regret is that I didn't get to make the choice. But yeah, the team event is the way to get the pog. So make the bystander.
Listen, Scott. One thing. How many things on the auction do we have for one of Scott Crampton's bystanders that you sign? Because I think
we don't have any. Maybe we should, that
could be maybe an in-person one, perhaps. Like that could be something people want, is that you have Scott Crampton's pog that has been signed by Scott Porter, which is either in the face of Crampton or the reverse, in the face of you having to sign his pog. It could go either way.
Yeah, my signature having to be on this pog is, that's a pretty big deal. I see what people would be willing to put forth for that. Yeah, we might have to add some of those to the auction. That's a great idea.
So that leaves us down to two things. So I'm not one to particularly talk about myself too much, but you did get to preview the legacy card that I got to pick. And I picked the Avengers Assemble Chase Iron Man 062, and I think he turned out really, really great. But I don't think the legacy card's going to be too meta, because they didn't choose the one version of blocking for improved targeting that I would have liked for them to choose.
Oh. See, so how was your process of designing this? Was it?
I just got to pick it.
Pleasant?
I just got to pick it.
Got it.
I sent some suggestions, and whether or not they were used, I don't think I'm supposed to say. I don't know. It's a good question, but it went fine. They asked me a couple of questions about it, and I put forth my suggestions, and I think what I'm excited about is the point cost reduction. This Iron Man is one of my favorite sculpts in all of HeroClix. Iron Man, of course, is my favorite superhero, and I think this is a really great example of Iron Man. It is relatively comic accurate. I thought it was from the beginning. This is from when Iron Man fought a coven of witches in the sewers, and he had this badass armor to go fight them. So it super, super cool power and abilities. I think the only thing I would have liked to have would have been the improved targeting blocking, the good kind. But they gave him improved targeting.
Well, yeah.
Well,
of course you're gonna say that. I mean, Thanos was unstoppable because of that. You think they're just gonna hand that out as candy?
Well, maybe not as candy, but maybe as a prize, for the big tournament. I don't know.
In my head canon, the designer went up to Justin, was like, "Hey, Daniel Powell wants improved." No, he doesn't get it.
Yeah,
don't ask me again.
That's a very funny headcanon. But at any rate, right? I mean, I was looking. So I tell you what my thought process was behind picking this Iron Man was to get his point cost down, so that there was a really great call-in figure for Thanos to call in, and since that time, both of those things have been banned. So.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. So, it's totally fine. I get it. It is what it is in Silver Age. So, but that was my thought process behind him was, hey, let's get a really cool Iron Man, or a really cool ID card character, that Thanos can call out. That was from a gameplay functionality, right? So that just happened to intersect with my favorite sculpt and favorite Iron Man, or favorite character, that is Iron Man. So that was my thought process behind all of that. However, I do think he's super duper offensive. He's got the traded energy shield. He's got the traded impervious that can reduce penetrating damage. All fantastic. He can choose RCE. He does have a lot of good improved targeting, which is great. Then he can get RCE, or Range Combat Expert. So up top for 120 points, he's doing 12.5, which is not nothing.
And in this age of shorter ranges, 7 range with 3 targets,
right,
for that all is pretty great. But you look at these old dials, and a lot of times people are like, well, it's just the raw stats are just, it's trouble, But this Iron Man does have the new Avengers team ability, which we saw on Black Panther last week when we were talking about Avengers 60th, and that's going to help some of these attacks actually stick as well. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. So the new Avengers team ability, at the beginning of the game, choose a team ability. This character modifies attack +1 when attacking one or more characters with the chosen team ability printed on their base. So, this Iron Man could very easily be 13 for 5 coming out. And he does have Energy Explosion and Penetrating Psychic Blast, which is also great with that triple bolts up top. So I'm pretty darn excited overall on how he turned out. That end dial is, leaves a little bit to be desired. But like I said, to be honest, I was kind of planning on him being an ID card character. But I think he'll be somewhat playable all around.
I think he's quite playable. If we were to do one of our tier makers, I would probably put him in a minimum C. I think somebody's going to probably try to play him. He is Avengers, so Avenger swap is pretty big. Like Scott was saying, a 7 range is big, and triple targets too is pretty significant. I don't mind the fact that he can only shoot through one barrier. Because he can still shoot through it and attack someone on the other side, right?
Yeah, he can he can energy explode into there. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not bad by any means. 120. My main thing I'm thinking about is, can I get him out with protection, which is really gonna. Galactus will be legal for for Worlds.
Well, he's not coming out to Wheels, and I don't think Wheels is going to come out before Nats.
Wheels wasn't it August? Yeah. No, Wheels is not.
Wheels might be legal for Worlds, maybe.
No, because DC is after the Avengers 60th, so yeah, it might be tough sledding. I honestly don't hate it though. I think this is definitely a figure. Maybe when we don't have the not Scott Porter figure aside, criminally undercosted attackers like the other Iron Man in the room, Sarkarian Iron Man.
Right.
This Iron Man has a much better chance, but he's a legacy card that I'm not. We've had so many legacy cards, Spider-Man included, where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, not much you could do about those values. That sucks. But this one doesn't. This one doesn't hit the. This is a disappointing legacy figure. This hits the. This is a cool legacy figure. I like this version of it. So I'm happy with how your card turned out, not including the whole blocking terrain thing. I still think it's playable.
Yeah, it's fine. It is most likely playable. I'll just my goal now is I got to try to win Worlds, and I'll say this: if I win Worlds, if I win Worlds and design a figure is a prize there, my figure that I design and submit will have improved targeting, blocking, the good kind.
20 points, 8 attack, 1 damage. But man, can he shoot through blocking?
You know what? It will not be that crappy, but it will have the improved targeting. It will have the whole slate of improved targeting. Whatever figure I get to submit or design from now until they print one, he will be able to make attacks through blocking terrain, the good kind. There will be no hiding. So we'll see if it ever gets printed. I'll at least submit it. Otherwise, it'll just be a regular type figure. So I think, Scott, the last thing we have for you today is your map. And then I think we could be good to wrap it up for today.
Yeah, the map design, in years past, I've had some pushback needing to have a little bit of symmetrical nature. Back when I designed the Hyper RPG studio map, which is where I used to do all the unboxings before they moved to a new studio, that was our first map 2 years ago when we were all virtual. And I wanted that map to feel like it was in thirds. I wanted it to feel indoor with, a little elevated breaking middle, and then, a second kind of stanza where you could do battle, and then outside. And they gave me a lot of pushback, and they're like, we want our maps to be a little more symmetrical. We want, and that was kind of the design philosophy back then. And then last year, that really culminated with Panther Fieldhouse, kind of having this, and I kind of did Panther Fieldhouse under the idea of, if you remember the old prison cells map, right? Where you had north side and south side, as I call them, whatever, top of map, bottom of map. And in the middle, you had this one hallway, or is kind of, for lack of a better term, like Killbox in this one hallway, where you had to figure out how to maneuver through it without getting yourself just crushed as you were moving through. And I wanted that kind of feeling. And what I didn't know is they already knew they were going to these 2x2 map kind of feels, and they wanted all that blocking terrain on the Panther Fieldhouse map, if you've seen it, to create a much smaller altercation setting, basically. And I thought it was a pretty cool map, but this one, I wanted asymmetrical, I wanted to be bright, colorful, poppy, and we went with Speed Racer. And it's the Racer Garage. It's the main map, where you can purchase at HeroClixForHuntingtons.com from May 1st to the 31st. So everybody can own this map, and every cent goes to HDSA above production costs. All the proceeds go to benefit Huntington's disease and the fight against it. And the Speed Racer map, I love the fact that there's elevated on the top side of the map. Bottom side of the map kind of feels like my old favorite map, that old house map that had the swimming pool in the backyard and everything. Once you're inside, there's just blocking terrain everywhere. A lot of angles. People are going to have to play a lot of angles. If somebody wants, has a team that plays better in a more open space, they can, map roll matters with this map. Whether you want to be in the kitchen or you want to be in the garage on this map, in the top part of the map or the bottom part of the map. I mean, it feels like it matters again. Not that other maps, it doesn't matter as much, but some of them are very symmetrical. So it doesn't really. Like, how many times you sit down at a map and you're like, okay, I want map roll. Or you have to pick side. You're looking at the map going, well, I mean, really, what side? They're the same. It just feels the same. This all feels the same. And that's not going to be the case with this map. And I know a lot of people were wondering if I was going to do the 2x2 size or 2x3. And I just figured that, for the next 2 years, 2x3 is still going to be available legally. And I think it's going to kind of be, I don't know, in my estimation, and Alex and I had this talk back and forth, I think, when I was beginning the map design. I feel like a lot of players are still going to be wanting to play on 2x3 maps. And I didn't want to create one of the shrunken maps this year. I think next year map design is probably going to be 2x2. So this will kind of be the last 2x3, but I wouldn't have been able to do a Speed Racer map on a 2x2, I don't think. So I leave it up to you guys. How do you feel about the map? Do you guys, are you intrigued? Is this a map you're going to actually want to play on? Because that's, at the end of the day, it really comes down to players like you on whether or not you guys are going to bring it to tournaments, to venues to play in it.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? I was looking at the map, thinking about how to lay out the terrain, and there are the way the stairs go up on the elevated, and the way the blocking is situated around the garage that the Speed Racer car is setting in, because the new rules say you can't place terrain on the transition squares. So right to the south of the stairs on the elevated is a great place to put a 2x2 blocking, and then right up against the Speed Racer car is another great place to put a square of those 2x2 blocking. So you did it, Scott. You actually you made a very competitive map.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, for somebody like me who I just want to see fun stuff, man. I just want to make fun stuff and make stuff that people think is playable, but at the same time, you know, I'm not trying to break the game. But with the map design, we definitely designed this one with terrain markers in mind.
Right.
The new, terrain marker economy. And it's great to hear you say that. You think you can automatically start seeing where this could benefit somebody who really understands needing placement for that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think obviously the biggest caveat, the elephant in the room, is like, I guess, legality long term. I think it's luckily that, like you said, Dan, it is a map that's playable from the get-go. It's definitely if you know the nuances of how to do maps and terrains, this is definitely one you want to pick up and play with. If you like to be a gambling man and that isn't your thing to do nuances with terrain, you could gamble the fact that this is by far the latest 2x3 map that's being released, like outside of the rest of the Rock Cup ones.
Yeah.
And you could say, hey, when they start rotating all the WizKid set ones, these might be some of the last remaining 2x3s that are out there. And so you don't want to be caught 2 years from now, all the WizKids 2x3s are gone, and we have just the HeroClix for Huntington's ones and the Rock ones. It's like, oh no, 2 years from now, you might be paying a premium to get one of these maps 2 years later. And that probably wouldn't be a premium that goes to the HDSA, whereas now it does. So it's definitely something I would pick up now, and just even if that, and it's also a very cool looking map. I mentioned this before we started the podcast that we're 3 days away from the 15th anniversary of the movie, which I think is very timely. I don't know if that's really interesting that we hit that milestone at a time this map was shown. So I'm pumped about it. I can't wait to get one.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the variant one for, you mentioned the film, and I know a lot of the HeroClix community are big fans of the movie. We put a couple of Easter eggs in the variant map. And the variant map, the only way you're going to be able to get a hold of that is to be at the tournament weekend, playing in the tournaments, and pretty deep pricing for the variant map. But we also do have it in the auction. So if you're really into it, signed copies of both of the maps are going to be in the auction on Friday night. And if you want the variant or the mainstream one signed by me, you can do that in the auction. But like I said, these maps, the main map is available for purchase. So you know what you're getting into, you know exactly what you're getting for what you're paying for. And the Racer Garage map will be up for sale starting May 1st through the 31st throughout the whole month at HeroClixForHuntingtons.com. So, a number of ways to get both of these maps for people out there.
Yeah, sounds great.
I'm a little disappointed, Scott, that I'm seeing everywhere around here, like Return of the Jedi back in theaters for 40th anniversary. Where's my Speed Racer 15th anniversary returning to the theaters?
Dude,
That's what I want.
I'm right there with you. I want it in full IMAX. I think the world wasn't ready for it. I've said this a number of times. If Speed Racer comes out post-Avatar, I think it does much better. I think Avatar really had to come out for people to have all this hypercolor, IMAX style. That was kind of the turning point for some of these films. And I think Speed Racer was ahead of its time. So at the 15-year, yeah, come on, I'm with you, man. I'll go. You want to go outside of AMC with some picket signs and be like, bring it back? I'll do it with you.
Yeah, I love it. And with that, let's wrap it up today with some final thoughts. Alex.
My final thought is, you heard it here. Scott Porter says Speed Racer's better than Avatar. So.
You know what? That's fine. I'll co-sign that. That's fine.
Yeah.
My final thoughts are that I'm just so appreciative to you guys for having me on today. I'm appreciative of this whole entire HeroClix family, the community every year coming together for this event weekend. We've raised a lot of money and done a lot of good, and I can't wait to do it all again this year. I hope to see everybody down in Huntsville, Alabama at Lucky Dice, May 4th through the 7th. But if you can't come, every little bit helps. Just jumping into one online BR or throwing in a couple of bids in the auction, it means the world to me. And I hope everybody that does participate feels like they got something out of it, above just doing great for a small cause that needs all your help. I hope they feel like they're getting something out of it as well, which is what WizKids and mine goal is that everybody that takes part in this feels like they get something for it. Their time is well spent. And so I can't wait. Yeah, I hope everybody jumps in and helps out, and can't wait to see everybody.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on today, Scott. We really appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for listening to Clixed Off today. And we'll talk to y'all next time.
See ya.
Peace.